Being a girl dad is the biggest blessing a guy could ever receive, but it's also something that doesn't just come with a manual. There's ways to lose weight, to grow in business, but there's no real operating system as it relates to being a girl dad. If this isn't something that you work on every single day and you're more intentional about, you could make a lot of mistakes along the way, or worse yet, miss out on memories and live life in regret. I'm Andrew Russell, founder of Dader and I'm on a mission to promote and celebrate what it means to be a dad. Becoming a girl dad was the best thing that ever happened to me. Actually, it happened to me again 2 years after that for my two daughters. There was actually a picture taken at the best moment of my life when I actually became a girl dad. And again, 2 years later when I was holding them. But being a girl dad is so much different than being a boy dad. Now, I can tell you that I wanted the boy so bad. I'm a big Jet fan, wanted the boy, wanted the football player. But now looking back, being the dad of two girls, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. But unfortunately, I'm the type of person, you can learn things the hard way, you can learn things the easy way. And I just learned things the hard way. I didn't ask anyone for advice. I kind of just figured it out along the way. But it could have been so much easier. So the point of this video, guys, is I'm going to give you several strategies on how you can perfect your craft of being a great girl dad so you don't have to make all the mistakes that I made along the way. All right, guys, here are the top 7 tips and strategies that I've learned over the last decade of being a girl dad that you can implement today that will help you and improve your relationship with your daughters right now. Now, the first one is be very weary of your size. So I say that because, as an example, me, I'm 6'3", 250 to 320, depending on how many Bubba burgers I eat at these jet tailgates that I typically frequent. But, sometimes as men, we don't realize our size. Now, as it relates to being a girl dad, it could potentially be exacerbated or get even worse, from an intimidation perspective. So I only say that because, look, most girl dads are big teddy bears. For whatever reason, it's in the genes. You have a daughter. I mean, I could say for myself, all of a sudden, you just become like a girl dad. And you're in it, and you're wearing the Elsa wigs, and you're doing the TikTok dances, and it's all good. But men are men, right? And regardless of if you're 5'2", 6'2", if you're, 150, 250, 350, to a little girl, you can certainly come across very intimidating. So for me, I learned that, obviously, you have kids. If you're going to get your point across, if you're an authoritarian parent, whatever strategy works best for you, if you raise your voice, it may have a negative effect or an opposite effect of what you're trying to accomplish by raising your voice because you're very intimidating. And I'm not saying moms aren't intimidating, but if you're a big guy, especially on the larger side as a man, you can definitely intimidate your kids. So I would say the first thing that I learned along the way is that I take a deep breath. Not that I have a woosah moment, right, boys? And I get into a great kind of chill headspace and I communicate in a way and I think of myself, be cheesy, Andrew. You got to be cheesy with these little girls because if I don't smile and I don't be cheesy, very intimidating, and it certainly can intimidate my daughters, which is not my intention. So it's certainly important, guys, to understand your size, understand your communication methods, how loud you're speaking, if you're raising your voice, because although your point might be valid, it might not be received well by little girls because it does come across intimidating. Now, the second thing, before we get into the second thing, guys, so we at Dader Up, we believe in something called the dad identity. So the dad identity is your identity as a dad. So specifically, we feel this is something to work on and to focus on. Go in the description, click the link, and take our free 7-question dad identity quiz. Now, with those answers, we're going to be able to give you a 7-day dad identity challenge where if you do all the things over 7 days, you'll be able to improve yourself with your identity as a father. Because remember, you can never outperform your identity. So your dad identity is so crucial, guys, to being a great parent. All the dads that have gone through our 7-day challenge, they come out on the other side. They feel more confident, they have more patience, and they feel they do a better job at being present with their kids. So make sure you go in the description, click the link, and take the free quiz to give yourself the opportunity for the 7-day dad identity level up challenge. The second tip is eye contact. Now, especially as I found with my kids. When you walk in the house, hey kids, how's your day? Good, Dad, how's yours? Great. There's something about eye contact when you communicate. I think it centers kids and it makes them feel that you're present, you're there, it makes them feel a little bit more confidence. So, something that I've found is when I sit with them and I ask them about their days, I take a deep breath and I kind of look at them in the eyes. And typically, kids, the first thing is they're going to look away. I'm like, oh no, Daniela or Gabriella, look at me, look at daddy. Right? Let's talk about your day, whatever it is. So asking them to be intentional about eye contact has definitely moved the needle towards, a closer relationship and them really opening up, but especially me improving as a girl dad. The third tip is asking open-ended questions. Now, as I just alluded to, you come home, hey kids, how are you? Great. How are you, dad? Good. How was your day? Awesome. How many times do you as a dad, I mean, I've done it. How many times have you just stopped right there? Which is, ideally something you don't do. So that's when, I sit with them and I look them in the eyes, right? Follow suit. And I say, hey, so tell me more about your day. Daniela, how was flute lessons, right? How you doing on that side? I know it's your first year doing flute. Are you feeling great about it? Do you feel like there's, some improvements we can do? Gabby, talk to me about the second grade. What's popping in the second grade class? But I found asking those open-ended questions, and you continually keep asking more, open-ended questions and more prying questions. Oh, that's great. Well, something happened at recess. How did that make you feel? That is where I've been able to really build a relationship with them as individuals. But I've also found that it's so typical to just ask that, hey, how are you? Good. How was your day? Great. Thanks for asking. There's so much more to it. That just scratches the surface. And it's really the initial communicative kind of door opening piece that when they do answer that way, which is very typical for kids, especially, kids on electronics or iPads or, Roblox, Italian brain rots, whatever kids are playing now. Just make sure, and especially if they're 14 or 16-year-olds old and they're in the electronics and they're talking to their friends or they're texting, you get that one-word answer. It's very typical. So just make sure you then say, no, listen, give me a couple minutes here. I missed you today. Ask them those open-ended questions. How was school? How'd that thing turn out with your friend? Are you excited for college? Or, depending on their age, there's a multitude of questions because that opens up the opportunity to just have a deeper relationship. Now, the fourth tip, this is something that I learned along the way, is you want to lead with complimenting their character, not necessarily just their beauty. So, of course, I'm a girl dad. I'm sure there's plenty of girl dads watching right now. What's up, girl dads? I'm sure your daughter is the most beautiful girl in the world. I get that. Mine are certainly the same way. They're blonde, blue eyes. My older daughter, Danielle, actually has 2 color eyes. It's super cool. And they're both beautiful. But I don't lead with just beauty. I try to talk about character. I want to teach them the important things in life that, beauty, of course, is skin deep. It's cool to have beautiful kids. That's not the thing. The thing is, let's work on their characters. So we talk about character in school. How are you as a friend? Are you a mean girl? Are you being nice? Are you communicating if someone does something that they don't like? Or are you just, kind of coming at them? So character at school, how do you act in front of other kids? It's super important. Even character on the sports field, right? It's something to win with class and to lose with class. So it's not all about, the kids scoring the goal and, you go off and have ice cream and they won the championship. It's really about the moments where they didn't play well. And especially all those educated in the space of being an amazing parent, all the people I've spoken to in my journey, creating data up, those are the most important moments where you teach your kid character, how to accept losses. Because listen, no matter what happens in life, we as parents, we always want to give that, feeling of we'll always be there to protect you, kids. We'll always if something goes wrong, we'll always, kind of be there to fix it, right? Especially us girl dads. It's just you have our little princess. We love them with all our hearts. We don't want any pain to ever come into their life, so we'll always fix it. But unfortunately, the studies and research has shown that's actually very bad. So we have to teach them, how to take the L, right? Take the loss at certain things in life, because that'll teach them later in life as they get into their teens and their 20s, and they can handle, going through things, and maybe they don't get hired for the job. Maybe they don't, get the grade that they had wanted on that one opportunity at school, or, maybe they don't have something happen all that best in their first job, whatever it is. You just want to make sure that we're positioning them best in life so that they can handle the ups and downs as things happen. So it's super important that we work on these things, their character, and we don't just hyper focus on how beautiful they are. Now, the fifth tip that I learned along the way that I kind of just figured out, but it's been something that's so important to me and to my girls, is a ritual. Now, what is a ritual? As an example, it's just an opportunity to be able to communicate into something cool that we do over and over again. So, for instance, when we have dinner, we'd have no electronics. We sit around the table always, no TV, and we're there, we're present, and we're talking to each other. So some kind of cool game we rolled out. I mean, granted, they're 9 and 7, so these games are still kind of cool to them. I'm sure as they get older, Papa Bear, a.k.a. Andrew, has to figure out some new games, is a game called Look to Your Left. So what it is, depending where we're sitting, we look to the left. So say Danielle looks to the left at Gabriella and says, we pick a topic and say the topic is, if this person could go anywhere in the world, where would they go? So they look to their left. And of course, Danielle's like me, always the same each time. Gabby, if you guys have multiple kids, Gabby has to be a little bit of a trickster and always changes her answer over and over again. Just depends on the the Gabby's a trickster. I think she just changes her answer just to mess with us. So we say like, where would you want to go if you can go anywhere? Or this summer coming up, if you can go on a trip to anywhere in the world, where would it be? Or what's your favorite color? That's obviously really big. Or, if you could change your name to another name, what would you pick and why? Things like this is kind of cool. It just opens up the conversation to the family while we're having dinner. And this has been a really cool ritual. Also, we have a bedtime ritual, which is pretty wild. You guys should be a fly on the wall to actually watch this. It's cool. The kids love it, but eventually they're going to kind of outgrow it. Go upstairs, brush their teeth, and then they change into their pajamas. We start in my older daughter's room. She asked me to tuck her in. I tuck her in. My younger daughter basically jumps on my back like a savage. I then carry her into her bedroom. She then does a Ronaldo Sue jump into her bed. It makes me videotape it and have to show it to her. It's, again, pretty wild. So then I kind of hang out with her and we do a little bit of cuddles. Then after like 5-10 minutes, usually me falling asleep 33 times after a long day at work, I then go into my older daughter's room. And then I created these special songs. So I have like 3 proprietary special songs that I consider better than Taylor Swift and Justin Bieber. I'm not going to sing them right now, but she always makes me sing them to her. And I think what it does is it soothes her before she goes to bed. So that's our routine. I lay there, I sing a couple special songs. We do our thing for a little while, a couple cuddles, and then I leave after, again, falling asleep at least 16 more times. If you guys are out there entrepreneurs and you put your kids to sleep and you do some cuddles really quick, I'm sure you guys are falling asleep too, which is pretty interesting. So, then we leave. But these rituals have made me and my kids so much closer. And it's something they look forward to. They look forward to dinner. They look forward to being off the electronics because we play all sorts of cool games around the table and we communicate and we have fun. They look forward to bedtime somewhat, depending on the night. No one likes to wake up early when it's dark out and cold in New York for school. But, they look forward to the night rituals because it's fun. That's, I guess, the repetitive theme is if you make something fun, it just really builds the bond. The 6th tip that I've recently learned is to be emotionally honest and be emotionally kind of on their level. Now, specifically, I've talked to a bunch of, leaders in the dad industry, let's call it that, people that have done all the research, they've looked at the studies, they just have a lot of real life experience. And they've all said that parents or dads, especially with girls, when you're able to speak on their level emotionally and be honest with them. And if you make a mistake, cool, apologize. Now imagine that. Imagine a dad who owns a business or an entrepreneur apologizing to their 7-year-old daughter for doing something wrong. But believe it or not, developmentally, it's really great for a kid to understand that their parents are not like these crazy, superheroes that are flawless and, that they're human just like them. It brings you closer and improves the connection. So I have found that kind of being on their level and apologizing where you make a mistake is very important. Like as an example, there was a time I was on the soccer field. And I don't know if you guys have kids that play soccer. Sometimes us dads, we dread when our little kids have to play goalie. So, my youngest was playing goalie and I wasn't paying attention because the team she's on is amazing. They're just like destroyers. They were crushing the other team. So my youngest daughter's in goal and she's not really doing much. And it's definitely, somewhat boring at times. So I was on my phone. I wasn't really paying attention. So later she kind of called me out for that. She said, you were not watching me play soccer. I was like, you were in goal, basically picking daisies for approximately 12 minutes. I mean, come on, cut me some slack. It's bad enough I was out there freezing to death. And she was really upset about it. So I realized, took a deep breath, and I was like, listen, to her, it looks like her dad just doesn't care that I'm not interested in her playing soccer. So I apologize. I said, look me in the eyes. I said, Gabby, I'm really sorry. Do you accept my apology? Daddy made a mistake and he's sorry. And she lit up after and she smiled and it was really cool. But I realized that, listen, dads aren't perfect. I don't know if you guys think you're perfect. He or she who thinks you're perfect, throw the rock, glass house. I'm not perfect. I don't know if you guys think you're perfect, but it's okay to not be perfect. Now, there are, of course, things that are just not negotiable that you can't do. But, human beings, we make mistakes. We do our best. So, like, to me, being a great dad is progress, not perfection. And part of the progress is, and part of these tips and strategies is just do your best. But of course, if you make a mistake or something happens or your kid's upset in there and viably that they're actually in the right being upset at you, it's okay to kind of get on their level, ask them to look you in the eyes and say, you know what, daddy made a mistake and daddy's sorry. Do you accept my apology? And let them, you'll see a big smile because it's, sometimes it's nice. It's nice when dad apologizes and your feelings matter as a kid. Now, the 7th and final that I just alluded to was, of course, the phone electronics. But before we get into this, just remember, guys, go in the description and click the link. Make sure you take our 7-question dad identity quiz. It's free. So make sure you take it. Take less than a minute to do, guys. I'm telling you, it's a non-negotiable. It's a must because what you're going to get from that is a 7-day dad identity level up challenge. And by doing the 7-day challenge and working on your dad identity, which is our identity as a father, we have spoken to so many dads that have already done it, and they've reported all of them more confidence, more patience. They do a better job being present and showing up for their kids and being attentive. So make sure you take the quiz so you can get yourself into the challenge. Now, the seventh piece, the phone, I'll leave the best for last because it's the most important. The phone thing is so difficult, especially in this society. So I, as an example or a story for you guys, I've been called out hardcore by both of my kids. By my older daughter, who is an empath, one of the nicest girls in the world. She called me out hardcore in front of a team that works with me at work because I'm on my phone consistently. And honestly, I probably didn't realize at that point on how bad it was getting. You know, I own a mortgage company and business is picking up. Had a couple of tough years over the last couple of years, with rates and various things. But I guess now that it's picking up, I'm on my phone more. But I realized in talking to her that if you're sitting with someone that you care about, right? And that person is just on their phone, and you're talking to them. Hey, Dad, do you want to do what? Like, what is this? This is showing her, who would be over there, that being here is more important than being present with her, which really stinks, And so she called me out on that hardcore. And I've realized that recently, that of all the tips and strategies, guys, that I could ever tell you, it's the phone thing. It's the electronics. It's very difficult in this modern day and age with social media and various things to not be on them, but you have to be intentional to press pause on the whole digital world, put your phones down and be present with your kids. And that may mean watching YouTube. That may mean watching YouTube shorts. Sometimes if you watch, 7 and 9-year-old YouTube shorts, what they like, your brain dies. You might have to play Roblox, guys. You might have to play Italian Brain Rots and 99 Nights in the Forest and all these horrific games that I couldn't despise anymore. But I play them because my kids love them. And I'm on my, my iPad with them and we play, but I'm there with them. I'm not just on my phone in my own world. I'm in their world, So sometimes electronics can be an okay thing if it's something that you do in moderation, but you have to remove yourself from your own world of electronics, which is being on your phone, going on social media. Maybe you use it for work. I obviously use my phone for work a lot. So, sometimes you have to just meet them where they are and do the thing that they're doing, whatever that is. We are big with card games. We're big into Monopoly now, Monopoly Deal, which is another cool version. So that's cool. They love to draw, do this thing where we draw some kind of a bug or like a daddy bug or a mommy bug, or, they have a dog named Biscuit, a biscuit bug, like whatever it is. We're doing something where I'm there, I'm present, but we also have an agreement. We have a cool agreement. It's a dad hack where I let them go on their electronics without me and play maybe 30 minutes of some Roblox game that I really just can't stand at that point. And when they're on their electronics for 30 minutes, I'm able to be on my electronics next to them for 30 minutes. So I'm still there and I'm with them. But if any of these tips resonate, guys, it's just the phone use. And again, it's really hard in this day and age, depending on what you do and if you're in the sales position. But if you work on any of the 7, the most important thing is just doing a great job being present with your kids, vis-a-vis staying off your electronics. All right, guys, we just went over 7 tips and strategies that I learned over a decade of being a girl dad, that if you took them and implemented them now into your life as a girl dad, you'll feel a better sense of presence, confidence, patience, and it just will level you up as a girl dad. But make sure you watch our next video, Present but Absent, the truth about modern parenting. Now, this video is going to go into, so many people think just being there and being physically present is the rage. It's actually not. You have to work on your emotional, your attentive presence. So make sure you watch our next video. It's going to go over all that stuff.